It's showtime. Infinity Nikki. A game that had everything a girl could possibly want, from imaginative visuals to a cozy open world to whimsy characters, and of course a dress-up system for the ages. And then the publisher said, why improve any of those things when you could just give us your money? And so here we are, picking up the pieces after the total disaster that was the version 1.5 launch, and a community that has been decimated by publisher greed and sheer incompetence. Between the even more predatory crash grabs, endless bugs, and straight-up silencing of their own community, it's the kind of corporate dumpster fire that has sadly become all too common nowadays. There are already plenty of channels out there calling out the ridiculous 11-piece outfit scam and the censorship mess, shout out to them for keeping it real, but what I want to talk about today is how this desperate trend-chasing greed didn't just ruin the story and characters, it destroyed the cozy fantasy world this game promised. So, my dear stylists, grab your favorite virtual outfit and maybe even a stress ball, because today, I, the starward Crusader, am about to break down how exactly Infinity Nikki betrayed its audience. So before we dive deep into all the problems, let's rewind for a bit and set the stage. What even is the Nikki franchise and why do fans love it so much? So the first Nikki game, Nikki Up to You, was developed by Paper Games, otherwise known here as Infold. This project started when they noticed an audience gap in the gacha market that no one was catering to: female players. See, most gacha games then, and well, most gacha games even now, focus on male gamers since they dominate the player base, shaping game design around their preferences. But Infold recognized an untapped potential, a whole population of players who weren't playing gacha games not because they didn't want to, but because their specific needs were not being appealed to. I mean, think about it for a moment. What are the most popular games with girls? And the answer would usually be along the lines of The Sims, Stardew Valley, and Animal Crossing. These games thrive on cozy, relaxed gameplay that lets players move at their own pace, free from the constant flashes of dopamines found in so many other genres. There's no pressure, no frantic competition, just creativity, self-expression, and gradual progression. And when you look beyond that niche, games like Dragon Age and Skyrim are also pretty popular thanks to their deep character customization, which is basically the equivalent to the holy grail of female gaming. I mean, give a girl a solid character creator and she'll happily spend 5 hours on her avatar before even touching the main story. Guided by these insights, Infold then went through trial and error to create a whole series of dress-up games tailored specifically for female players, dominating that niche for almost a decade. And their approach was straightforward yet genius. They hired their own target audience. It's speculated that nearly 70% of Infold's workforce consists of women, ensuring that these games were designed by the very people who understood what they wanted. But unfortunately, it turns out even though the creators were very passionate, people at the head of the company were still corporate executives, and their greed for money gradually turned each new installment of the Nikki series into a vehicle for monetization. In fact, Infold became notorious among Chinese players for their aggressive monetization tactics, so much so that boycotts actually became a pretty frequent thing for Nikki games. Thus, the current controversy isn't an isolated incident, but rather the latest chapter in a long-standing battle between Infold and its audience. Sometimes the fans would win, most of the time corporate greed won out. Yet, despite these frustrations, girls kept coming back. Why? Because beneath the layers of corporate greed, there was something undeniable. And that was the genuinely talented creative team that understood their audience. These weren't just dress-up games, they were celebrations of femininity dripping with charm, style, and themes that were unapologetically girly. The developers cared not just about aesthetics, but about evolving the games to fill a niche no other studio would. They listened, they iterated, and they fought to make something special. And after years of refinement, it all culminated with the creation of Infinity Nikki. The initial concept for Infinity Nikki crystallized when the developers looked at their signature style and asked, what if we brought this into a sprawling open world? An open world specifically catered to their female audience, designed to evoke warmth, whimsy, and relaxation. From the start, the vision was clear: no punishing difficulty, no convoluted stats, just a cozy magical sandbox where players could explore at their own pace. And when the game launched, it delivered. Players could lose themselves in a whole host of activities, experimenting with fashion, solving playful puzzles, stumbling into weird minigames, or simply wandering through the beautiful landscapes. Every interaction carried this irresistible charm to it, proving that a female-centric open world didn't just work, it shined. I mean, just look at the menus in this game. This is what happens when a developer pours genuine love and attention to detail into every single pixel. And these are just the menus. Every corner of this game has this level of care and personality that's just become vanishingly rare in modern titles. It's a world brimming with pure wonder and whimsy, and all it asks in return is to lose yourself in the magic. If this was simply a single-player experience, it would have been hailed as the next Breath of the Wild for a female audience, a celebration of charm and femininity. However, unfortunately, we all know it's shackled to the live service model, and the tragedy is becoming clear. What should have been a timeless gem is slowly being eroded by the very system that funds it. Starting us off simple, I think one of the biggest issues with Infinite Nikki is its instability. Glitches are frustrating in any game, but they feel especially egregious in an open world designed to be immersive and relaxing. Worse yet is the fact that this game is server-based, meaning every hiccup isn't just an inconvenience, it can become a hard barrier to your progress. And then there's the update cycle. Unlike most live service games which operate on a standard 6-week patch cycle, Infinity Nikki pushes new content every single month. In theory, it sounds pretty exciting. More features, more outfits, more adventures, but in practice, every update introduces a fresh new wave of instability. Heck, Patch Day has effectively become unplayable with constant server kicks, emergency maintenance, and game-breaking bugs turning what should be a cozy escape into tech support simulator. This is the reason why studios like Hoyoverse stick to 6-week cycles even if it means dealing with leaks. They prioritize delivering stable, polished updates over rushing out broken content. Yet Infold's insistence to push monthly updates suggests one of two things. Either their quality assurance is severely understaffed, or the executives are sacrificing polish for profit, rushing updates to monetize players faster. And if we run with the assumption that the developers are being forced to rush things, everything begins to fall into place. The half-baked mechanics, the persistent glitches, the increasingly shallow content updates, these aren't just random failures, they're the inevitable result of prioritizing profit over product. And when your priority isn't crafting a cohesive experience but hitting monthly targets, the quality will naturally degrade. Yet for all of its post-launch struggles, Infinity Nikki's core experience remains a testament to thoughtful design. The base game is packed with lovingly crafted content like story quests, fishing, exploration, and minigames, and none of these activities overstay their welcome as each feels purposeful, respecting the player's time without sacrificing their charm. Though again, the real cracks start to form when the live service grind kicks in. After completing the main story, the magic begins to fade. Seasonal events and collectibles become the only endgame, and what began as a cozy fantasy increasingly feels like a part-time job. Rewards are buried beneath tedious repetition, events prioritize engagement metrics over fun, and new content often clashes with the game's own lore and tone. And to me, the most clear example of this has to be the miracle outfits. In the story, the miracle outfits are legendary sets of clothing that Nikki is searching for in order to save the world, or so she initially believes. But as her journey unfolds, she discovers these outfits can't physically be found, but rather she must take inspiration from her experiences to make these outfits herself. And the gameplay here mirrors the character's growth. As players unlock nodes to assemble outfit pieces, Nikki's character simultaneously grows through her own adventures. And to me, that's a very strong message. Strength and creativity aren't handed to you, they're earned through lived experiences. True growth comes with engaging with the world, and not just chasing an end goal. Thus, when you do eventually get to the creation of Wishful Rosa, it feels incredibly rewarding both narratively and mechanically. After hours of exploration, storytelling, and incremental progress, the moment lands with an emotional weight. It's not just an outfit you unlocked, it's the culmination of Nikki's and the player's journey. The base game handled miracle outfits with care, but then the updates arrived and completely gutted their magic. Take version 1.1 Silvergale's Aria. This second miracle outfit arrived with a quest so rushed, it might as well not exist. There is almost no narrative build-up, no character growth, no allure, just a hollow checklist pretending to be story content, and the gameplay to get it is even worse. What was once a meaningful progression system is now a months-long grind for blueprints, no different than any other gacha treadmill. The once meaningful miracle outfits have been reduced to filler that artificially inflates playtime as devs themselves scramble to make actual new content for their player base. Another example of how live service greed breaks the game's core promise is the dye system. In most dress-up games, recoloring is a basic feature, like jumping is to a platformer. But Infold decided to lock 90% of colors behind a new premium currency that is nearly impossible to earn. The math is absurd. A free player would need over a year to fully dye a single 5-star outfit, with each piece demanding individual unlocks. Worse yet, the most coveted colors like black and pink are almost exclusive to 5-star items, while 3 and 4-star pieces get stuck with limited palettes yet still consume the same premium currency. And let me remind you, this is a dress-up game. Recoloring is supposed to be a basic feature in this genre of games, and for a title that claims to celebrate creativity and self-expression, they sure have locked up a lot of features behind a paywall, haven't they? And it's not like they didn't have plans for a dye system. In fact, there's a whole area in the game that is dedicated to the art of dyeing, and they even teased a proper system during events, only to scrap all of it for this exploitative model. When a dress-up game monetizes color choices, it doesn't just cross a line, it obliterates the entire creative fantasy of dressing up, also that publishers have yet another way to milk you of your money. So at this point, we've established that Info's greed has 1. Broken the game with rushed updates, 2. Crunched developers to meet unrealistic deadlines, 3. Replace meaningful content with an artificial grind, and 4. Paywalled basic features in a dress-up game. But surely, you might think, surely they wouldn't ruin the beating heart of this game, right? They couldn't possibly ruin the tone, right? They couldn't possibly ruin the characters, right? They couldn't possibly ruin the story all to introduce a half-baked co-op feature into the game, right? Well, this is Info we're talking about, and that's exactly what they managed to do! Honestly, I am flabbergasted. I don't think I've ever seen a developer retroactively go back and spend money on their game just to make it worse. They have literally lost the plot. I mean, let's skip over the damaging lore and character implications. I'll make it simple for you and just compare the old and the new openings side by side, and you'll immediately see just how absurd this change is from a new player's perspective. So, the original opening plays out like this. We meet Nikki, this pink-haired girl, and a talking cat Momo as they rummage through her mom's attic. Nikki needs a dress for a fancy ball, but she's kinda reluctant because she doesn't have a date. You can tell these two are close friends because Momo's being super supportive and showing her different outfits to lighten the mood. As the scene goes on, there's the sense of mystery that begins to creep up through the music and imagery, and it all builds up to this ominous glow coming from a closet. Upon opening it, a red dress inside springs to life and begins dancing with Nikki before transporting her and Momo into a strange place they've never seen before. As a side note, what I love here is their initial reaction, as both Momo and Nikki check to see if the other is okay before even worrying about where they are. Anyway, then a mysterious voice calls out to them, and since they've got no other options, they decide to follow it, and this area serves as a tutorial section for the game's basic movement. It's a deceptively simple intro, but it works so well. In just a few minutes, it nails two crucial things: atmosphere and character. The tracks of the story build up naturally. What's with the glowing closet? Why is the dress alive? And by the time Nikki and Momo get thrown into another world, you're already hooked. But what really sells it for me is how it establishes our leads. Nikki isn't some chosen one or hero, she's just a relatable girl stressing about a party, while Momo is the kind of friend who hypes you up whenever you're feeling down. It's this dynamic that shines through the tiny moments the intro presents us with. This is Adventure Storytelling 101. Start ordinary, make it weird, and give us characters worth following. No lore dumps, no convoluted stakes, just a girl and a cat falling into a magical problem. It's clean, it's charming, and it makes you invest in the journey ahead. So what does the new opening present for players who want to hop into this cozy open world? Well, it all starts when this pink-haired girl destroys the world before cutting to black. Yeah, this is gonna be super cozy, isn't it? When we come to, the pink-haired girl called Nikki finds herself at some generic ethereal tree, face to face with what looks like a From Software NPC who got lost on her way to Elden Ring. Cue the overly dramatic orchestra, and the weird NPC starts monologuing about some Sea of Stars gobbledygook. And then suddenly they're holding hands and doing this dramatic magical girl transformation sequence. And the next thing you know, they're flying through space like it's some epic anime climax, only to get dropped onto these random floating rocks so you can learn how to walk. And when Nikki, rightfully confused, asks basic questions like, "Where are we?" or "Who even are you?" she basically gets told, "No time to explain, this world is ending, go push buttons." From there, we're thrown into learning basic game mechanics while running through these visually stunning environments, which would have been a great idea if I actually knew what was going on. And the whole time, our resident From Software woman keeps spouting cryptic nonsense about the end of the world, I think. Eventually, we reach what appears to be the center of the universe, because why not? And suddenly, we're treated to this ultra-epic cutscene about the end of the world, I think. The two women then begin drifting through space until a golden light explodes from Nikki's chest and she summons another girl who might help us with the end of the world, I think. Then, believe it or not, things get even more abstract as a bunch of pink and blue humanoid silhouettes join them with no explanation given, and before you can even question it, everyone gets sucked into this cosmic void before the screen cuts to white, cueing the beginning of the tutorial. So, are you intrigued? Of course not! Do you see how stupid this is? Nothing connects, nothing makes sense. For new players, it's pure confusion. It's wild how badly this misses the tone of the game. The old opening was grounded and made you care about characters and setup. It was charming. For the new one, it just looks like they took a checklist of epic anime tropes and forgot to make any of it make sense. And if you think this is bad, let's compare how the two handle tutorial sequences. So, in the original opening, after being transported to this new world, Momo and Nikki are now following this mysterious voice while learning the game's controls. When they finally reach the source, they find Aina, this sassy chained-up woman who gives just enough exposition about the magic dresses to pique your curiosity. Then, bam, she shoves this Heart of Infinity power into Nikki and tells her the only way to return to her normal life is to save the world by collecting miracle outfits. And before Nikki can even react, she's sent into the sky and Aina is swallowed up by monsters. Sometime later, Nikki wakes up and thinks her strange experience was just a dream, until Momo launches into this hilarious rant explaining they've actually been transported to some mysterious ruins. As they explore their surroundings, the game naturally introduces more and more mechanics while keeping everything tied to the story. For example, when Nikki comes across this glowing star, a special animation is played for the first time it's collected. These aren't just generic collectibles, they represent inspiration which fuels the Heart of Infinity and unlocks Nikki's powers and abilities. It's a brilliant way to tie gameplay, world building and lore together in one simple, elegant system. After exploring the ruins a bit more and dealing with some monsters, they meet Dada, an over-enthusiastic girl who was supposed to clear the ruins herself. Blown away by Nikki's skills, Dada excitedly invites her to join the Stylist Guild and points her towards a nearby town called Florish before rushing off. And just like that, the tutorial neatly wraps up as you step through the doorway with every gameplay element introduced in a way that makes perfect sense within this world. So again, how does the new opening hold up? Well, after that weird cosmic light show, Nikki, like me, wakes up hoping it was all just a weird dream. Until Miss From Software Woman pops in to casually drop the bomb. Yeah, you totally destroyed the world, but don't sweat it. It's a multiverse. Worlds are basically disposable here. Nothing says emotional stakes like treating entire realities as replaceable, right? Who needs meaningful connections or lasting consequences when you got infinite do-overs? Then, out of nowhere, the game desperately tries to shove its half-baked co-op mode in your face with this multiversal hub nonsense. Since we're actually here for a story, I tried to ignore it, only to be dumped into the most lifeless, empty island imaginable. And the gameplay here consists of touching a random star, wearing a purple dress for approximately 2 seconds, and then immediately returning to exposition hour with From Software Woman who now calls herself the Seer. And then the Seer proceeds to dump a mountain of exposition on us. Apparently, Nikki has this world-ending power called the Heart of Infinity inside of her, for reasons, which went haywire and obliterated her world and her memories. The only way to save the world and herself is by finding miracle outfits, as these are apparently the only things that can alter the Heart of Infinity. And sure, the setup is the same as the original opening, but can you see how it makes no sense in this context? Oh, and also, that purple dress from earlier, turns out it was a miracle outfit too, though the game never bothers to explain why this matters or how it connects to anything, so don't worry about it. Then, From Software Woman randomly drops this cat in front of us, and Nikki, despite losing her memories, somehow knows this cat. The cat, equally baffled about the situation, just rolls with it and hands over a camera and tablet while admitting he has no clue why they're important. Spoiler, it's to unlock the store quicker. After this avalanche of nonsense, the Seer instructs us to trek to an old tower where she'll supposedly send us back to begin our adventure. Except what follows is anything but adventurous. Despite having just witnessed the literal end of the world 2 seconds ago, Nikki and Momo suddenly decide now is the perfect time for a casual photoshoot. This jarring tonal whiplash then plunges us into yet another series of disjointed tutorials, this time explaining the wish system before forcibly being dumped into another co-op hub nobody asked for. And when we finally reach our destination after what feels like an eternity of pointless detours, we don't even get the promised open world. Instead, we're confined to yet another boring hub area for more tutorials and exposition. I can't. This isn't storytelling. It's throwing random plot elements at the wall and hoping something sticks. At this point, I hope you see the clear difference between the two openings and how much more superior the original opening was. The original introduced players to Nikki's world with care, establishing characters, building intrigue, and weaving gameplay introductions naturally into the narrative. Every element served the story and the player's immersion. The new intro, by comparison, feels like a corporate checklist we must complete before the 30-minute mark. Haphazardly introduce Sea of Stars for cheap nostalgia points? Check. Shoving complete co-op features down players' throats? Check. Randomly showcase camera mode regardless of story tone? Check. Introduce the monetization system before the game even actually begins? Check. This isn't just clumsy, it's fundamentally dishonest game design. Rather than prioritizing the cozy fantasy experience players actually want, the publishers would rather have you engage with all the cool, hip features they shoved into this game. And the final nail in this fabulous coffin comes when we compare how each opening introduces us to the open world. In this artificial fake opening, you're whisked off to a strange dimension where you meet a golden glowing lady who claims to be the person that gave Nikki the Heart of Infinity. She then repeats the exact same exposition you heard from the Seer, then the screen flashes white and the game plops you into the middle of a town. No explanation, no establishing shots, no memorable characters welcoming you. One moment you're in limbo, the next you're standing on some random street corner with zero context. The whiplash from Cosmic Destiny to Generic Town number 47 is so jarring, it's comical. This has to be one of the most asinine open world introductions I have ever experienced. It completely fails at basic storytelling or player motivation, and it's crystal clear that the only thing that this game expects out of you is your wallet. But again, in comparison, when you take the old opening, there's something so special about it. I'm not even going to explain why. Just watch.
Oh, what are they? They're flying away! So can we.
Can you feel that? That wonder, that whimsy, that sheer excitement just to go out and explore the world, to go out and have fun. This is the game that so many people fell in love with. This was the Infinity Nikki that cared about its players and gave them a fluffy feeling in their chest. We don't need world-ending stakes. We don't need cosmic horror. We don't need an epic story that spans multiverses. That's what other games do, and Infinity Nikki was not like other games. Nikki wasn't special because she had godlike powers. She was special because she felt real. A normal girl navigating life's ups and downs. Momo wasn't just a cute sidekick, he was a friend who genuinely cared. The most interesting problems they faced weren't about saving reality, they were about dealing with life's worries. The pressure of living up to expectations, the nervousness of talking to your crush, the struggles of finding where you belong. It was cheesy, it was magical, but most importantly, it was heartfelt. That's what made this game so cozy, and that's what made it so special. They had magic in their hands, and they traded it for microtransactions. And this is just the new player experience. We haven't even touched how this mess butchers storylines and characters like Giovanni, the miracle outfits, and Faye Wish lore. And to me, the sheer lack of care in this intro raises an even bigger question. Does Infold even have a plan for the future of this game? Think about it, if they're already rewriting core parts of their story, characters, and world just 6 months after launch, how can we trust anything they do going forward? It shows they didn't plan anything out properly, and for a live service game, that's basically a death sentence. When you start sacrificing good gameplay just to make money, what's even the point of new content if all the fun stuff gets locked behind a paywall? And when developers are constantly rushing to push out half-baked updates while fixing endless bugs, do we really believe they can maintain the same level of care and attention to detail that made the original game so special? These problems didn't just happen overnight, and this latest update is just the dam breaking. The Sea of Stars isn't just disappointing, it's a warning. When profits take priority over passion, even the most promising games lose what made them special. I wish I could believe a simple patch or apology could fix this, but the damage runs too deep. And the worst part is that they keep pushing the player base because they know they have us over a barrel. There's no other game like Infinity Nikki, nothing that caters to women or cozy game fans in the same way. So they keep testing again and again how much we'll tolerate cutting corners at every single turn. This isn't just disappointing, it's a fundamental betrayal. It's a betrayal of player trust, it's a betrayal of the cozy game fantasy, and worst of all, it's a betrayal of everything that made Infinity Nikki special. But now, I leave the floor open to you, my dear audience. Is there still magic in this game? Do you think the community will ever be able to turn things around? And will the Sovereign of Cool ever respond to my calls? Like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Honestly, I wasn't planning on covering this since, I'm the Star Rail guy, but when my sisters, who are diehard Nikki fans, started raging about the new update, my curiosity kicked in a bit. I mean, these were the same people who'd spent months gushing about how much they love this game, so to hear them upset was definitely a change. So I sat down with him, started a fresh save, and yeah. The intro made 0 sense. Not to me, not to them, and by the time the game dumped us into the open world, my sisters were livid. Then they actually showed me the original opening, and it hit me. The game they fell in love with had been patched out of existence, and the deeper I dug into it, the more I realized I wanted to play that game. And as I was exploring the open world, I was hit with this wave of nostalgia I couldn't quite place. Then it clicked. Nikki feels like Barbie, and not just any Barbie, but the classic 2000s Barbie movies. My favorites were The Princess and the Pauper, Magic of Pegasus, and Fashion Fairy Tale, so playing Infinity Nikki felt like I was actually living in those worlds, and it really put into perspective why people love this game so much. I mean, this revelation is why I've developed such a soft spot for Infinity Nikki, and why I felt compelled to make this video in the first place, because most creators covering this game are long-time Nikki fans who haven't experienced the butchered new intro firsthand, so a lot of them don't really know the gravity of just how bad this new intro is, and how it'll probably serve as a big barrier of entry to a lot of potential players. I myself will probably continue to consume the content secondhand through my sisters, but if they happen to quit this game because of this, I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with another greedy gacha game, you know? It's really heartbreaking for fans of this game, but honestly, I don't think this is the end of the road for cozy female-focused games. It's either Info wakes up, listens to player feedback, and fixes this mess, or another studio will step up and give players what they actually want. This backlash proves just how hungry the female audience is for a good game, and the demand is there. Someone just needs to deliver. Maybe it'll take a year, maybe 5, but mark my words, someone will make that dream game eventually. And with that, dear stylists, may your journey lead you ever starward.